lot of video, but it's really going to help you understand it. Epigenetics is a super important concept. I'm going to skip through all of this. All of this is not on the test, but you should just know that infants are born with a certain temperament. When we talk about behavioral genetics, we're talking about genes that are linked to personality. Like, are you extroverted because of a gene in your body? Are you shy because of a gene in your body? Are you tending to be angry because of a gene in your body? That's what behavioral genetics looks at. And we do find some heritability of traits. Don't worry about that slide, and don't worry about this slide. We'll worry a little bit about this slide. Let's say you have a genotype for shyness that says, this is how shy you're going to be. This is on your gene. You might be this shy way down here, close to the shyest possible human. Maybe you'll be more outgoing, right? Your actual phenotype is going to be somewhere in the middle here, right? So your gene suggests that you're about here on the shyness spectrum, but your actual phenotype will differ, and that's based on experiences. That's based on how you live your life, or how your parents raise you, probably more likely, right? Are your parents always kind of encouraging you to be shy and reinforcing that shyness, or are they encouraging you to go out and giving you confidence? So that's kind of the basic idea about personality and behavioral genetics. In your book, and in this next slide, we're talking about gene-environment correlations. And all that means is that people tend to have traits that match their environment. So if you are a very outgoing person, we're more likely to find you in a big social situation than sitting alone in the library, right? Seems obvious, doesn't it? Except, why is this? You know, why is it that that's the case? Is it just because you prefer that social situation, or is there anything else going on? And so the first idea is the idea of gene-environment correlations. Your book, I meant to correct this in the slide, your book describes this as genotype environment correlations. And there are explanations for this relationship, okay? And so the first one is passive. And it just means if you're shy, what are your parents likely to be, shy or outgoing?
Shy.
Probably shy, right? And shy parents, what kind of a home are they going to provide? A home that's having all kinds of people in and out and big parties all the time? Probably a quiet home. And so this passive relationship just says, well, you know, you got your gene from somewhere, and if you're raised with your birth parents, then probably they're providing an environment for you that reinforces your trait. But it could be an active too. Like, what choices do you make? Like, if you're a shy kind of kid and you're on your first day of kindergarten, and there's all those choices in the room, there's like the dress up center and the cars and trucks center and the book center and the art corner and the doll corner and the run around and tag people corner, right? Which corner is the shy person going to choose? Maybe the book corner, right? Maybe the quieter place. So this person isn't just passively sitting in an environment, but they're also making choices every day that strengthen their trait. So the more they choose that kind of quiet environment, or in this case, the more they choose the outgoing environment, the more their trait is strengthened. Quiet child seeks a quiet environment, outgoing seeks outgoing. That's an active relationship. There's a question on the quiz, you guys. That's why I'm going through this. And there's one more way, it's evocative, to evoke something in other people. Yeah, it's good. These slides are posted for you too. But what that means is that, right, now picture that kid in front of you in the cart in the grocery store, picture a baby and you're all waiting in line and there's that baby facing you, right? And there's the baby going, and you're really grouchy, you don't want to wait in that line. But the more that baby coos at you and tries to engage you, what happens to you? Do you ever finally engage with the baby and smile? Yeah, probably, right? That child just evoked an outgoing behavior in you against your wishes. Okay, and that's the third mechanism. All right, you elicit reactions from others that are consistent with your personality. Now, the very last piece of the summer, this is all posted for you. The very last piece of the puzzle is this epigenetic piece. And we used to believe it was nature versus nurture. And we now know that epigenetics contribute significantly to this puzzle. What is epigenetics? Oh, I have to tell you the story because I put it on the quiz. Okay, this is an important story. It's on the quiz. I first learned about it from a news story. Do you happen to remember maybe a decade ago? They changed some pipes in a city called Flint, Michigan, and the pipes brought river water in, and the river water eroded the pipes and brought lead into the drinking water of all the people. And lead, as you may know, is pretty dangerous for development and can contribute to mental retardation. And along with paying attention to this story, I heard an interview with a doctor when I was just listening to the news. This is the doctor. And she said something like this: epigenetic research suggests that lead exposure in women can lead to DNA changes in their grandchildren. And then she emphasized their grandchildren. And at that time, I thought gene outcome, but how can it affect my grandchildren? Like, they're not going to have that gene. I didn't understand. But the fact is that you can have the gene, but what's expressed by the gene isn't a given. Like, there's a silencer in there that can stop that gene from expressing. And that's what happens with something like lead poisoning. It causes an epigenetic change so that the gene is still there, but it can't create its protein. So what actually happens? It's what we used to call junk DNA. Remember, this is the gene. Here is what we used to think was just no good, just a waste of space DNA. As it turns out, this junk DNA is what's the interface between the outside world and the gene. And so even though there's a blueprint there saying, yeah, produce this protein, well, the outside world might find it not best to produce that protein. And so this junk DNA is actually in charge of what the gene can express. I think this is an okay metaphor. I didn't get this anywhere, but to me it seems okay, and I'm sure it's somewhere. But I look at it this way. DNA is like a blueprint, like the instructions for what to do, say to build a house, the blueprint. This is what it's going to be. RNA, which is the action plan, implements it. But epigenetics is like the foreman that says, oh, you know what, that plan shows that we should, dig the hole right here, but look, there's a big root here and the land is unstable, right? In real life, what should happen? We don't know that till we get there, and that's what epigenetics is doing. And so this is a really brief overview. I also put a metaphor on here about the notes in the margins of a recipe, right? When you're in high elevation, you change the recipe. The recipe's there. You can still read the recipe. You could still make the recipe, but how you make it depends on, in this case, epigenetics. So it happens in a couple of ways. Those ways aren't important. I'm not testing you on them. I mean, they are for scientists, but we don't have time. And so what I'm looking for you to do is to watch this Dr. Courtney Griffin. This is an old video, but it's still my favorite. It's not that old. I think it's, I don't remember, maybe 5, 6 years old, but I still like it the best. It is excellent TED Talk, and Dr. Courtney Griffin will explain, and I will caution you that there are a couple of questions on the quiz related to epigenetics, and I'll caution you about one more thing. This is your last question, and I'll show you a way to help you do it before we sign off. I'm giving you a situation that might be yours. That is, your grandparents might have experienced trauma, starting from childhood. I'll post this for you. It's not posted now. All right. So I described that trauma. And then we noticed that the grandparent's daughter, your mom, let's say, Angie, has characteristics similar to traumatic stress kind of reactions, right? Mood lability, really high reactiveness, tendency toward anger. And what I'm asking you to do is to describe how both epigenetics and choose one of the 3 gene-environment correlations and explain how they might have played a role in Angie's mood difficulties. How might epigenetics have played a role? A, and when you watch the video, that will be clear. She kind of talks about this. And B, active, passive, or evocative gene environment correlations. If Angie has a tendency to become angry and reactive, which could you describe any one of those three and how that might have reinforced that trait? C, and she'll address this in the video as well. C asks you, what about Ferlina's children? Is this epigenetic change based on the grandparents' trauma condemned throughout eternity? I mean, are her children just condemned? The epigenetic change is there. There's nothing to be done about it. And you'll hear Dr. Griffith talk about that too. Okay, that's your second question. Now, to help you with that, briefly, I'm going to show you, you can go into people on the site. If you like working with your group, you can talk now before you go, or you can text each other and chat now if you're on my wonderful Zoom people. And you can go into people on our class, which should be available to you. And you'll see that I created some groups, but I didn't put anyone in now. If you go to this people page, you'll find optional discussion groups, and there's 12 empty groups there. And you can choose one and go in there and chat about your project. It's no grades, nothing like that. It's just a place where you can discuss your work. You can always Zoom and stuff like that too. But if you would appreciate this continued interaction with your group or any group, you guys can decide between yourselves what room you want to take, and you can just go in there. You can join yourselves, and that'll be your private room to talk about these problems, okay? All right, that's all I have for you. Thank you for sticking around here. Don't even think we're that late, but it feels late, doesn't it? It's 8:40, we're right on time, but it does feel late, so thank you. Yes.
Do you want us to turn
No, because each of you this time has to turn that in individually. You go in the module, you'll see here that you need to click through each of these. Most of you are done with your mini quiz. You'll come to learn the content. This is where you're going to find the video. There's going to be the Huntington ones in here. It's already there. I put it in during break. There's going to be the epigenetic one here. It's not there yet, but I'm going to put it up as soon as we go. And then you see your quiz in your app, and that's where you write your answer to the problem. Each of you individually writes your answer. If you want to get the same grade as someone else because you worked on it together, you can, but you have to put both your names up. Okay? Save you time. And it's good for you too. All right, thanks guys. Bye everyone. I'm going to close the Zoom, but if you want to chat with me or anything, just let me know and I'll open a different room again. Okay?
Yeah, probably not tonight.
Miss Russ,
Yes.
just a question. So we're on chapter 2 now?
Yes, we're about halfway through. For next week, you need to read the rest of the chapter, prenatal development. So we only had like 5 sections. I think it was through 2.5 this class.
So what mini quiz were you supposed to do today? Because it closed on me.
It is the one right here. You have to go into this module.
Oh no, you stopped sharing your screen.
I did stop sharing. Yes, I'm gonna fix that. I need to get you off our big classroom screen is what I need to do, but people are leaving anyhow. So here we go, sharing again. It should be up for you now. So you need to go into the correct module. And I changed the title. I put the date at the end so you know where you are. So this module should come up for you, and you need to go through each screen individually. That's the only way to get through to these last problems. So you have to start here. That tells you what sections you are to have read, and then go to next. And there's that quiz on the reading. And you won't be able to get beyond that until you actually take the quiz.
Okay.
And continue on to the videos, and then once you're done with all those, then you'll get access to the final quiz and definition. Thanks, Rolana. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Dr. Russell.